All right, hey team, it's Telsi here from Sweat Happy. I'm gonna take you through a lower body, we'll say workout, but it's not quite the same, lower body series today that's gonna be really helpful for active recovery and mobility. So if you've done one of Becky's crazy booty blasts, you might wanna recover with this one to kind of undo some of that tension so that you can walk really nicely the next day. So let's come down, all you need is a mat and a will to do the workout, and we'll get started. All right, so we're gonna start lying on our backs today. You're gonna have your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, just hip distance apart is excellent. Let's take the hands, we'll place them on the front of your hip bones here, just to kind of pay attention to where they are, who they are, what they are. And then we're gonna start with pelvic tilt. So the feet are pretty relaxed. You're not pushing them down aggressively to the floor. Collarbones are open. We're gonna tuck the tail under so the low back presses down into the mat. And then you're gonna untuck the tail, the low back will lift up. Let's take it slower than you wanna go. Tuck the tail under, one bone at a time and the low back sets down onto the mat. And then untuck the tail, one bone at a time and the low back lifts up into that arch. Now the goal here is to make sure that both hip bones are flowing at the same pace in the same direction. So you might notice if you have any sort of imbalances in your body, which are super normal and we all do, so please don't judge yourself if that's you. But you might notice there's a little wobble in your hips. Can we try to bring some symmetry? If it doesn't happen, it's okay. Do this more often. Inhale one direction. I'm easy on which way, and exhale the other way. Really tuning into the little details of the body. They're important too. Inhale one way, and let's exhale the other. Beautiful. Let's come back through a neutral pelvis. So how you know your pelvis is neutral, I'll get you to make a little triangle with your hands, your thumbs together, your pointer fingers together, so like so. You're gonna place the heels of your hands roughly on your hip bones and the pointer fingers roughly on your pubic bone. Now I want you to make sure that the thumbs and the forefingers are on the same plane. So my pelvis is not neutral if my forefingers are higher than my thumbs, and it's not neutral if my thumbs are higher than my forefingers. So if you can even them out, what you should feel is that you're gonna kind of settle onto a flat spot on the back of your pelvis. That's called your sacrum. So that's where, when we talk about neutral pelvis in Pilates a lot, this is where we want you to live. You might feel like you've got more of an arch in your low back than you're used to, but trust that this is part of the process. You're gonna take your rib cage, you're gonna tuck them down, keeping the neutral pelvis, and that should give you more security in that lumbar arch. From here, we're gonna try to teeter-totter the hip bones side to side. So your hands can be on the hip bones again. I want you to leave your feet and your knees alone, but press into the right side of your bum. So the left hip bone, you'll feel it shoot up towards the ceiling a little bit. And then press into the left side of your bum, feel the right hip bone lift up towards the ceiling. I want you to imagine as if you have a marble rolling from one hip bone to the other, and you're just tilting the pelvis one side and then the other. The hands on the hip bones are really helpful because this movement is really small and you might not feel it otherwise. So rolling from side to side, keeping the length of your waist equally as long on both sides. So it's not hula dancing, we're not going up to the side. It's just a little rotation in the pelvis. You can exhale as you arrive to one side. Inhale, come across the center. Exhale, arrive to the other side. Inhale through center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale through center. We'll do a final one over to the left, or whatever side you're headed to, and then back through center. Beautiful. From here, push back down into the right side and then let your knees fall with you to the right, so your left hip will come up totally. And then you're gonna reset yourself back through neutral, heavy on the sacrum, press down into the left side, let the knees fall over to the left. At this point, the arms can go where you're comfortable. Bring yourself back through center, press down into the right side of your bum, then the knees fall. Good. Come back through center, push down into the left side of your bum, and then the knees fall. You're gonna inhale as you come through center, and exhale as you press down into the one side and let the knees fall. Inhale through center, keep your chest soft, and exhale, press down, let the knees fall. Try to keep both shoulders on the mat. We'll do one more each side. Back through center, inhale. Exhale, press into that one side of your glute, bring your knees to the side. Inhale through center, and exhale, press down and bring the knees to the other side. Good, come on back through center. Very good. From here, you're going to make sure you're in neutral pelvis, make sure your neck is long across the backside and the ribs are tucked. Take your right knee into your right hand, stay on neutral pelvis, so I'm not pushing my weight to the left even though that I have a leg lifted, and I'm not lifting my right hip up to my shoulder. So the hand is holding the leg here, so if you need to pull the knee in closer, by all means go ahead. And then we're gonna use the hand to circle the hip around in its socket. So we're starting really gentle here. We're gonna circle the hip around in its socket, making sure that we're just adding some, it's called synovial fluid, the fluid between your joints, to help support you. So we're stirring that up. You can also use this as an assessment. So how are your hips tracking? Is there a spot that doesn't feel so much like a circle? Is there a spot that feels like tension? Is there a spot that feels way wigglier than the rest? Something to pay attention to. Let's go the other way. Try not to rock your hips side to side. So the goal here is to use your hand to really passively move the hip and keep your pelvis still. Make sure you're breathing in through the nose, out through the nose or the mouth. If you want to really relax the body, keep your breath only through the nose, in and out. If you have some tension to get out, use your mouth to breathe it out, but always in through the nose. Good. All right, let's set this hip down. Take your left knee in towards your left hand. Make sure if your neck has done anything funny, mine likes to when I transition, so that's why I cue it, is to make your back of your neck nice and long. Bring your left hand to your left knee, relax the pelvis into neutral, keep the upper body soft, pelvis doesn't move, and we draw circles. Now, if you're not left-handed, it might feel weird to use your left hand to help you, but we want to bring balance to the body, we want to get to know the body, and sometimes handedness can really throw us out of whack. So, I challenge you to practice doing everyday life things with your non-dominant hand, just to bring some neural connection back to that side of the body. That's just a side note. We're working on the hips here. Good. Okay, let's travel the other direction. Breathing, noticing what you're feeling, noticing what sensations are coming up. Keeping the rest of the body still as you circle. Let's go 2 and 1. Good. We're gonna do just a couple glute bridges here, and I have a reason for them that's beyond just to grow your booty. So we're gonna keep your sacrum nice and neutral. Again, the ribs tucked. We're working from a neutral spine here. Bring your hands down beside you. Your heels are close to your bum, but they don't need to be jammed up in there. Knees are hip distance apart, feet are parallel. We're gonna press down into the backs of the shoulders and the bottoms of the feet. Drive the knees forward, lift the hips up to bridge. Then you're gonna lower yourself back down, folding at your hips. So I really want you to focus here on the length that this is bringing the front of your hips. So everyone complains, we got tight hip flexors, we got tight hips. Well, I don't want you to stretch them. I want you to use them in what's called an eccentric contraction, because that's gonna build a really elastic muscle. An eccentric contraction is lengthening under tension, meaning that a glute bridge is a movement that recruits muscle, AKA it burns when we do a lot of them. And that being said, this muscle has to lengthen to make this one shorten and contract. So it's working to lengthen rather than gravity, forcing it to essentially rip itself open, which is what stretching does. So this is gonna build a really resilient hip, really focusing on opening up through here. Let's do 2 more. 2. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Last one. Remember, we're recovering here, so we don't need to feel anything too crazy. Bring it on down. All right, I'd like you to roll to the side here, so I'll come to side lying this way. I'm on my right side if you want to match me. Now, you can use a pillow underneath your head. I am unprepared and don't have one, so I'm going to lay my head down on the floor, and I'm gonna reach my hands out in front here, and then you're just going to create some tension in the arm. So I want you to pull the back arm back into its socket and push the front arm forward, so you feel like you've got some tension here. You bring your knees into a little fetal position here, and then take your bottom rib cage and you're gonna lift it up off the floor. So you're really propped up on your base hip and your base shoulder with that tension in the arms. You're gonna take your top leg. I want you to flex your foot. You're gonna lift the leg up just hip height. So rule number 1, don't move your pelvis a single bit. We're gonna move the leg around. You're gonna pull your left knee, so the top leg, whatever your top leg is, up towards your armpit as far as you can go without rounding the back. Then you're going to lift the leg up slightly without letting your pelvis tip back. Keeping the foot flexed, can you turn your knee towards the floor and your heel as far towards the ceiling as possible? This is called internal rotation. Your end range might be different than mine. It might be better or worse. Well, those aren't the words I like to use, but it might be different than mine. And then we're gonna draw a big arc. This is always a little bit of a brain teaser, but can you keep internal rotation, but travel backwards in a big circle? The leg will be behind you. Don't let your pelvis move, and then bring it forward. Let's go again a little faster. Foot is flexed. Bring this knee in towards your armpit, but don't move the pelvis. Lift up. Internally rotate, knee down, heel up. Draw a big arc up and over with that internal rotation. Bring it back, stacked over the bottom knee. From here, let's go the other way, but we're gonna do it with a pointed foot. So point your toes. I'm gonna lay my sweet head down. Point your toes. You're gonna reach the leg back behind you without arching the back any more than it already is. From there, we're gonna externally rotate without moving the pelvis. So you bring your knee to ceiling as high as you can go without moving the back or the pelvis. Big toe to floor. From here, can you draw a big rainbow? Knee comes up towards armpit here. So we draw a big arc over and then close that hip up, down, up and down, off and down. And then let's circle backwards. Circling backwards, extending the front of the hip, externally rotating, knee to sky, heel to floor, toe to floor. Arc up towards the shoulder. Try not to round into or dump into the side body too much. And then bring yourself down. Good, and then set the leg down. You can roll over to the other side if you'd like. I'm just gonna flip around with less grace so we can come to this side. So we're gonna just get the other hip right away. So you're going to interlace your hands in front of you here, and then you're gonna pull the bottom arm in. You're gonna push the top arm forward to create some tension. Bring your knees into fetal position here, and then lift the bottom rib cage up off the floor. So you're not slouching here, you're propped up on your base hip and your base shoulder. Now, if you have a little yoga block, a ball, something, a pillow, doubled up mat, you can place that under your head, or you can work your neck muscles with me, which is a different important thing to do. You can message me about that if you want to hear more. Flex your top foot, lift your top leg up, don't move your pelvis. Bring your knee towards your armpit, stick the bum out behind you so you're not rounding the back. Lift the leg up. Good. Internally rotate, knee to floor, heel to ceiling, and then draw your big circle up and behind. Ooh, this side might get a little crampy here for me. If you feel that too, that's just your body saying something's pulling, and we just want to be gentle and loving with it. Bring the leg back through, seeing if we can coax lovely mobility into these hips. Lift up. Turn the knee down, the heel up. We can't be rude to the hips to make them open. We need to be kind. So think about exploring whatever range you have right now without forcing it. Good. All right, we're gonna bring now the toe into the point. We're gonna reach the leg behind, don't arch the back. So we come into hip extension. Then you're gonna externally rotate the knee towards the ceiling, the toe towards the floor. Arc the leg up towards your armpit. Bring the leg down, circle down and around one more time. Shoot the leg behind you, open the front of your hip. Good. Externally rotate, toe to floor, knee to ceiling, and then arc it up over towards your shoulder, armpit. Bring it down, and then bring your knee down. Beautiful. From here, you can use your hand to push yourself up. We're gonna come into a position of many names. I like to call it a shin box because you're creating a little bit of a box shape with your shins. Some people call it 90-90, others will call it mermaid. You choose whatever adventure you wanna be on today. What we're gonna do is create two 90-degree angles with each leg. Make sure that they are true 90s rather than being tucked in all pretty like this. That's more mermaid style. This one's gonna be a little bit more open. So, we're gonna do a couple different things. We're gonna open the front hip, we're gonna close off the back hip. So this back leg is in what we call internal rotation because it's rotating inward. This is external rotation on the front because it rotates outward. Let's work external rotation first and then come to this bad boy in the back. So you're gonna rotate your torso towards the front knee, bring your hands to either side of the front knee. Take a moment here just to kind of settle in, make your spine long. We're gonna bow at the hips, and then we're gonna push down into the base leg to lift up. So the hands are just a support tool. They are not allowing this motion to happen. What's happening is we're strengthening the bottom glute med, we love that muscle in Pilates, to lift yourself back up into upright spine. So if you can do this with your hands crossed over your chest without cramping, that would be ideal. So you're folding here, with a straight spine, and then you push down into the bottom leg to lift up. Try to relax the back hip. It likes to be a bit of a bully on this one and try to take all the glory. But see if you can just, like you're opening a book, push down into the bottom leg to lift yourself up. We'll go 3. Inhale down, and exhale up for 2. And if you can't do this with your arms up, just really gentle weight in the fingertips here. Last one. Good. All right, we're gonna transition into this back leg now in this same position. So you might notice that my hip is lifted on this side, and that's because my hips are a bit wonky. Join the club, we all have something going on. We're gonna bring the back hip, try to bring it down to the floor. This might make your front knee come up. That's okay, because what I want you to try to do, use the word try, is have both sits bones down onto the floor. If you cannot do that, it's like feeling crampy and crazy for you, stick a little towel or double up your mat underneath of the forward hip that we just worked. That way you'll be able to sink down into this back hip. Now all I want you to do is bring your hands back behind you until you feel comfortable to have a nice straight spine. So you might have to go way back here to make this hip stay down, or you can sit up as tall as you can. So what I want you to do, we're gonna kind of passively work. It's kind of like it's an active stretch, not much looks like it's happening. You're gonna try to push this knee, the back knee, and the back heel down into the floor like you're trying to make a perfect imprint of your shin. So, doesn't look like much, but if you're doing this right, your sits bones on the floor, we're pushing this shin down, you should feel, I'll censor myself. I was gonna say a damn lot, I won't say it. You should feel a whole lot of stuff, I know I just said it, into the front of this hip. It should feel kinda funky, but we're gonna work as far as we can into that internal rotation. It's really important to work both sides of movement. I know we love hip openers, but we also need to learn how to bring the leg into internal rotation, which is this one here, in order to have a really balanced body and a healthy pelvis. So making sure we're just breathing here. Like I said, lots is happening even though we're just hanging out. I'm talking to fill space right now. Lots of breath, lots of pressing down into this leg. We'll be here for about 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax the downward pressure of this leg. Take it really slow. We're gonna try to open up, so lifting this back knee up off the floor without moving the front knee as far as you can go. And once you no longer can move this leg without moving the front leg, that's when we windshield wiper to the other side. We're gonna do just a couple windshield wipers. Lift up the back knee first, so the one that's internally rotated. Don't move the front leg yet. Once you're at that end range, we rotate back. Good. All right, we're gonna switch the shin box to come to the other side now. So you're just going to orient yourself in the opposite positioning here. So 2 90-degree angles in both legs. So situate yourself where you feel good. I know sometimes having bones in the ankles and whatever floor surface you're on isn't friendly, so move your mat if you need to. We're gonna start with the front hip as we did before. Now I always say you've got 2 legs, sometimes they tell 2 different stories, so don't expect this side to be exactly the same as the other side. It's all good if it's not. You're going to rotate towards your front knee, place your hands gently on either side of the front leg to get started, and we're gonna bow with a really flat spine forward. And to get yourself up, you do not use your hands or your back. You push down into the bottom knee to grow tall. You're gonna inhale, come down, and exhale, grow tall, push down through the bottom leg. Now, if you can do this with your arms up without any cramping happening, I would love you to do that. If you're feeling crampy of this back leg and back kind of QL, it's called, or your quadratus lumbaris muscle, it's the low back muscle there. If it starts to cramp up, you bring your hands back to the floor. Inhaling to come down, nice long spine through tail and crown. Exhale to lift up, push down into this base leg. Try not to bug the microphone so you can hear me clearly here, but you can cross your hands over your chest with a lot of freedom, or you can bring your arms out to the side like a letter T. That's a harder option if you're a bit of a junkie and you want something more. You're gonna inhale down for 3. I'm gonna bring my hands down. If you like that option, go ahead. For 2, really lightweight in the fingers. 1 more. Exhale, lift it up. All right, we gotta get that bad boy in the back now. So you're gonna take your bottom, or your hip bone, and you're gonna try to transition the weight so that both sits bones are on the floor. Again, if you need help with that, you can place something underneath of this front hip so that it'll help you achieve that level. Bring your hands back behind you. Find a position where you can have a straight spine. So you can lean back far, you can come close. You gotta find your point that is not causing you pain. Keep that left side or whatever back leg sits bone is on the floor. And we're gonna work on that internal rotation. So you're pressing your knee and your foot, AKA the whole shin, down into the floor as we sit here and breathe. Just trying to really get as much range as we can here. You should feel kind of like there's a corkscrew type motion happening around the hip here. And it's gonna help unravel any tension we have maybe in the IT band or the inner thigh, maybe even the outer calf, something like that. But really, it's just gonna prime the hip to know that it needs to live in both places to be happy. It needs to go in both directions to be happy. I talk about oppositional force a lot in my classes, meaning that, you know, we need to be able to pull one way and the other way to create balance in the middle. So for example, if your arms are out to either side, reaching far to either side, then we're having balance in the center, but there's force going that way and there's force going that way. In this one here, we're practicing the internal rotation force because we already did the external rotation, bringing balance to the hip. This is me chit-chatting, so you can ignore all the sensations that's going on here. Hopefully it's working for more than just me in the room. You're gonna push down this knee a little more powerfully, push down the foot a little more powerfully at the same time, sit a little taller, breathe deep. 3 and 2 and 1. Really slowly, be gentle here. Relax your knee, and we're gonna try to pull the knee up without moving the front leg. You come up as far as you can before the front leg moves, and once you find the point where the front leg moves, it's a-okay to continue this journey, pivoting on the heels, windshield wiper to the other side. Try to connect that back leg down to the floor, and then you're gonna lift the back leg up as far as you can before the front leg moves, and then circle back into your original shin box. Good. Bring yourself to seated. We're almost done. We're just gonna do a little bit of work for the knees and the ankles, and then we'll call it a day. You're gonna come into either half cross-legged position, or if this doesn't jam with your body, you can do this seated as well, no problem. So find a chair or a box or something to sit on. You're gonna bring your right heel to the floor, flex your right foot, so your heel is gonna be your pivot point. Your hands are gonna go on either side of your thigh, and the rule number 1 is that we don't let the knee move. So the hip is gonna stay still. What we're gonna do is move the 2 bones that are in your shin. So there's 2 bones here, your tibia and your fibula, and they need to rotate in order to have a healthy environment in your knee. If they don't rotate, your knees might have a lot of tension, or torque as we call it. So what we're gonna do is try to rotate. You're fanning your foot one way, and then rotate, fanning the foot the other way, but we're not moving the ankle. So it's not this like inversion, eversion, like flappy ankle thing going on. It's these 2 bones in the shin. So if you need to place your hands there to guide them without moving the knee. Most people notice that external rotation is a little more accessible than internal, so don't force it if you can't go, you know, too far on the internal without your hip coming with you. The goal is to practice this, and over time you might get more range. Really simple movement, really profound effects on the hips and the knees. So really take care of this one here and be mindful. You can relax every other part of your body. I like to watch it. You can kind of see the rotation happening. Make sure you're breathing, sinking into your skin. We're relaxing here. We're bringing some peace to the body, some attention to the small details. We'll do one more in. Good. Wherever you are, I want you to pick your leg up so the heel is floating off the floor. I like to just kind of hook my arm underneath my leg and then just kind of hang out, cross my arms so that I'm not holding with any sort of, tension in my body. I'm just kind of hanging out here in balance. So again, the knee and the hip don't move. You're gonna pull your foot into full flexion, but we're gonna take this really slow. I don't like to go fast in the joints because it actually will create more inflammation than good. We're gonna keep the foot in flexion, but can you dive your toes towards the midline? So it's like a little sickle of the foot. Now we are trying to pull the sole of your foot towards your face. From there, roll through the foot, point through the toes very last with that little inward rotation there, inward point. Then we're gonna point down through center. And then the tricky one, we're gonna try to point the toes out to the side without the knee pushing out to the side. Pull your toes up and then come into flexion. And if you can see it, I'm sorry about my blister. You're gonna come back through the center here. Let's do one more of that rotation. So come through center, roll down through your foot, point through the toes last. Roll through center point, roll to the outside, pull your toes up, and then come up and in center. Let's go the other way. We're gonna turn the toes out to the side, roll through the foot, point through the toes, come through center, sickle the foot in with a point, then pull the toes up first, come up into flexion, bring it neutral. One more time that way. Circling around, rolling through the foot, point your toes all pretty, come through center, sickle the foot, pull up and back through center. Perfect. Bring this leg down. We gotta get that knee and the foot on the other side, and then we'll call it a day. So come into your half cross-legged, or if you're in a seated position, you can just kind of pay attention to your left side. Flex your foot, bring your heel down as your pivot point, hands on either side of your knee here, or you can have your shin bones if that worked for you last time. And we're just rotating side to side. Don't let the knee move, don't let the hip be involved with this one. So sometimes I really like to brace this leg. That's why I say hold either side of the leg so that we can really make sure that we're putting the movement below the knee. Inhale in and exhale, rotate out. You might notice each leg has a different story to tell as well, and maybe that's because you've got one knee that's a little tighter than the other, one ankle that doesn't move as well as the other, something like that. Just building awareness in your body, knowing that if there is imbalance, it's okay, but just kind of exploring the why, the where, so that we can get to know ourselves on a deeper level, on a finer level. Let's do 3 more. Take these slow. Like I said, we're not bringing inflammation to the joint here. We're not, because we're working delicate tissues right now with these little movements. I don't want to throw things around too fast. Good. All right. Excellent. And then bring it back through center. You're just gonna lift this foot up in space. However it worked for you last time is great. Just make sure that you're not, gripping or holding with tension. Usually there's a balance point when you rock back. You'll feel yourself kind of sink into it nicely. From here, we're gonna work those ankle circles before we call it a day. You're gonna pull your foot up into flexion nice and slow. Let's sickle the foot into the midline without moving the knee in space. And then we're gonna roll down through the foot. The toes are gonna point last. And then we roll through the center, out to the side, pull the toes up first, and then roll up through the foot. Good, back through center. I really have to watch this ankle. This ankle kind of has a mind of its own. If you've got one of those, you know what I'm talking about. But rolling through the foot. It's really good to bring a lot of neural connection to the feet, furthest point away from your brain. Good, let's go the other way. So that you're able to feel your environment, not just with your hands, not just seeing with your eyes, but you can also feel the world through your feet. Where you're walking, how you're connecting to your body. This is your last circle here. Good. All right, and then you can relax in whatever posture you'd like. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope your lower body feels so loved and so taken care of. You can do that as often as you want, maybe a bedtime routine, maybe a post-workout, maybe on a mobility day or an active recovery day. But take care of your joints. They take care of you. I hope you have a great night or a great day or a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon.